All right, welcome to another edition of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight Podcast. And again, I'm Brian Arnold, your host, and I am so excited today. You are not going to believe the content that we're going to have today. And I have Steve Kyles on, who's one of the top mortgage officers, businesses, coaches in the entire country. And he does this for a living, and he does well. And I've asked him to come on to talk to us and the real estate market about the reality of the market and what's going on and how we can make our businesses better. And, I could spend a whole lot of time talking about a background, but I'm going to let him say a little bit because I want to get to the content. There's some times when we can just talk and, really kind of create relationships, but there's sometimes when content is so important, and we're going to get to the relationship part. I promise you that. But I want to introduce Steve. Steve, thank you for being on today. Thank you for being part of this, really being able to help out the folks that are here, not only in Colorado, but across the nation. So I appreciate you.
Hey, Brian, excited to be on the podcast with you. And for all of our agents who are watching this is going to be a great episode to really empower you with the right information to help you get your buyers and sellers off the fence. We're going to talk about the 4 typical objections and how to overcome those objections. And man, you're listening and connected to the right person. Brian is one of the top loan officers, absolutely just killing it as far as adding value and knowing how to help your clients build a clear mortgage plan. And so excited to be on a few minutes to bring some value to your agents and help them hopefully give their buyers the right information, man. Because Brian, there's so much, I think it's a lot like propaganda and just negative fake news. And, it's these highlight attention getters that are creating fear in the marketplace, but it's not educated conversations. It's really out of hype and sensationalism. And that's what I love about what you're doing on the podcast with your agents is just giving them the right information to overcome the bad information. So excited to be here. You're a part of our coaching program, which we coach thousands of loan officers across the country through the mortgage marketing animals. And man, this is just exciting because your agents being connected to you. People ask us all the time, Brian, why should I work with Brian? The simple answer is you help your referral partners make even more money because we lead through process, system, structure, same way every time. And we get their relationally referred leads that they send to us. We get them even more leads from those back to them. And so they've definitely partnered with the right person in partnering with you.
Thank you for that. You think about, how it used to be where their stuff would just show up, houses everywhere, and then in this market, it's still a great market. You just have to do some work. And my job and your job is to help people be able to do that, to be as successful as they want to be. And we have our programs like this and conversations like this that do just that. So this is what you're going to want to absolutely 100% listen to. And probably listen to over and over again. Take out your pen, take out your writing, whatever you're writing with or writing on, because this is some really good stuff that we're going to go over really quickly.
Hey, well, and let's talk about this first. For our agents and partners that are listening, it's not your fault. The market has shifted. There's been a lot of change, and here's the good news is it's going to be okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to help you overcome the fears and anxiety with facts and the right information, because what we commonly hear, Brian, is the top objections that we hear, like even as your agent partners, if you're a realtor and you're speaking with a client, you're going to hear them say, hey, I'm just not ready to give up my low rate to move to the next home. Well, as an agent, how do you overcome that? Because man, that 2.5% rate, that's nice. 3.5% rate, that's nice. And we know rates right now, man, they're as much as 7.5% to 8.5%, about that 1% spread. Depending on the day, depending on the market, depending on what you're seeing, people are saying, hey, I don't want to give up a low rate to move up. The second objection we hear is, I'm waiting for rates to come down. And if you've heard that, I'm going to help you with the information to overcome it. The third one is, I'm waiting for housing prices to come down. Hey, right now, surely from what I've seen in the media and the news, inventory may be tight, but I bet the housing prices will come down. And the fourth one is a hesitancy for buyers to pay over ask in today's market. So what I thought we'd do in the next 16 minutes is let's give your partners the information to overcome the fear, the anxiety, the talking points with really factual data that will help them have a real conversation with a buyer or seller. Because look, here's the deal. if there's a reluctance to give up the low rate and move up, there's a couple of angles that we would take. And one of them is this. As a seller, so if you're working with sellers, the average seller who owns their home today has about $274,000 in equity. And the reason that's significant is because the average family household has $96,371 in consumer debt. So they have $274,000 in equity, but they have about
Can I just go
96.
back on that?
Yeah.
Did you say $96,000 in consumer debt?
$171 in consumer debt. And so, and that's got to include automobiles and all that. But what you're seeing is this.
Yeah.
You're talking about it. Here's a seller who says, I got a 2.5% rate. On average, they got $275,000 in equity, but they're sitting with about $96,000 in debt. So what happens is if a seller were to sell their house and pay off the $96,000 in debt and put a smaller down payment towards the new house, most of the time, and Brian, this is where your partners, your agents can reach out to you, but most of the time that buyer will actually net cash flow more because that $96,000 in debt is sitting anywhere at 5% at the low end. At the high end on the credit card debt, 22, 24, 26% debt. I mean, interest rates. And so although your house, which is a tax deductible interest write-off for most, is sitting at the lowest interest rate you've got all this other debt. Brian, I was looking at a credit card survey the other day. The average credit card, if you paid the minimum, would take something like 11 years to pay off. And most people, what you find is they got all this debt and it just lingers. And, that $10,000 credit card's costing them $800 a month or $500 a month. And they got 4 of them. And they're just paying interest because they're making minimum payments. So here's the question is, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I know most people are a little apprehensive of giving up a low rate, but what we find is most sellers have $274,000 in equity. How much you owe on your property? Most sellers have about $96,000 in debt. Have you ever considered maybe paying off the debt? And making a next purchase, even though the rates are higher, you might be able to cash flow more. So it's a great way to have an educated conversation around, I don't want to give up my low rate and move up. But for a seller, it may be the linchpin that gets them out of the pinch financially they've been in. Here's the other thing. You'll hear people say, hey, I'm waiting for rates to come down. Well, Brian, did you know since 1971, the average mortgage interest rate was 7.74%. We're sitting at about the average since 1971. So when somebody tells me I'm waiting for rates to go down, I always say this, based on what? Well, they can't stay this high. Really? Based on what? Hey, did you know that the average mortgage rate since 1971 is 7.74%? Oh, I didn't know that. Well, what are you watching that would help you indicate that rates are going down? Well, I just thought, rates have been so low for so long, they got to come down. The reality is, Brian, you and I both know this. There's a high likelihood they're not coming down for at least a year, at least through the election. And here is what we know too. And I'm going to skip ahead to another point that'll come up when people are concerned about, the values of homes. Here's what we know. The average appreciation right now in most markets is 5.8%. 5.8%. So there may be a pocket where it's lower. There's a lot of pockets where it's higher than 5.8. The average is 5.8. So let me put it in perspective. So Brian, if I'm a seller who's carrying debt, I currently have equity, and I say I don't want to give up my low rate, but I'm going to wait for rates to come down and hopefully home values will come down. Here's what we know. On a $400,000, that's a modest purchase, $400,000 loan. 5.8% is $23,000 in the next 12 months. So I don't want to give up my interest rate, and I don't want to pay $500 more a month, which is, call it $6,000 a year, but I'm willing to pay $23,000 more for that same house. So what happens is, it's just when you start looking at the math. Wow, we waited for rates to come, and I'm not being sarcastic, but I'm just saying it's the uneducated. No, but here's what happens is I'm waiting for the rates to drop maybe 1%, so I can save maybe $200 a month. But In waiting, it's going to cost me an extra $23,000 to buy that same $400,000 house because appreciation on average is 5.8%. And here's what I hear a lot of people say. People say, well, the values can't continue at this pace. Listen to this statistic. Since 1941, home values have gone up 73 times. 73 times. Only 7 times has it gone negative. And I'll tell you what's crazy. There's 5 years it went negative back to back, and that was 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, and 2011. Outside of that 5-year span of a national catastrophic economic collapse, which is unlikely to happen. I mean, like when you look at the stats, it's just not likely to happen. So outside of those 5 years, there were only 2 years since 41 that the markets have actually lost ground, and they only lost ground by 0 and 1%. So it's not like they even lost a whole lot. They didn't lose like 15%. It was 0 1 year, and that was in 1991, and it lost 1% in 1990. So those are the only other 2 times the appreciation has actually lost ground instead of made headway. So when somebody says, I'm waiting on values to come down, it's not likely. Since 1941, 73 times appreciation has gone up. So if you're betting on rates to come down, which is a hunch, it's not really gauged on anything. There's no indicator saying rates are coming down. I may gain a percent lower in rate, but I'm going to give up 5 to 6, 7% appreciation on that property. You'll actually lose money by waiting instead of selling your house, paying off your debt, taking the equity, either reinvesting or putting it down towards the next house, and recognizing, look, if rates come down, Brian, guess what? As your lender for life, you can actually help your client do a low cost, no cost refi. So buy the house now, and if and when the markets come down, they'll be in a position to buy later. And this is the kind of information that as an agent, if you're able to talk to your clients and help them understand, we're betting on rates to come down, which is not likely. We're betting on appreciation to come down, which is not likely based on the facts and the data we've seen since 1941. Here's another thing. 67% of millennials, and there's 72 million of them, will be in the market to buy a home. 67% of them. There was a massive study by U.S. News and Bank of America, and they were doing a big research study. 67% of millennials said they will be in the market to buy a home in the next 24 months. And we already know that inventory is down 38% since 2019. So what happens is we're sitting with a lower inventory. A huge segment of the market's looking at coming into the market. We're hoping appreciation or values come down, and I would with most certainty say they're not coming down because demand is there. That also gives me the confidence. If I got to pay over ask to win the right home, dude, I'll do it because I'll make it up in short order. I'll give you an example. I bought a house 2 years ago, and I paid. They were selling it, and I paid over ask. And guess what? I'm selling it right now. I'm selling because we built our brand new home, and I'm not going to make a ton of money, but I'm more than broke even. And it was in 2 years, and I paid over ask because the demand is there for people buying homes. And so if they're waiting for prices to come down since 1942, it's gone up 73 times and only declined 7. Inventory's down 38% since 2019. If you're waiting for rates to come down, not likely to happen just based on the averages we've seen since 1971. And we know that most homeowners and most families have a tremendous amount of debt. So let's take our knowledge as mortgage experts and reposition the debt to be paid off, maximize cash flow, take the interest deduction on your mortgage payment, which most people still qualify for, and you're sitting in a much better position than you were. And so my big challenge to everybody is, if there's a hesitancy to pay over ask, 5.8% is the average appreciation. You're going to be sitting just fine by the time the market catches up. And oftentimes you'll see, it was funny when we paid over ask 2 years ago on ours, Brian, it actually appraised for more than we paid over ask because the demand's still high, man. You just be surprised that when the demand's my neighbor this last month sold in one weekend, and he had over 3 offers. And I mean, it just goes back to in the right areas, the right price point. you're going to find that the demand is still high. So if you've got clients saying, I'm waiting on prices to come down, it's not likely, give them the information. Somebody who's saying, I'm waiting for rates to come down, that's not likely because the averages have been what they have been since 1971. And here's the other deal too. We all know the government can't afford to keep buying billions and billions and billions of dollars of mortgage-backed securities, which is what brought them artificially low pre-COVID and into COVID, was to stimulate the economy. The government doesn't have that kind of money to start spending just to drop mortgage rates. And so what you're finding is this is really a time where, at the rates they're at now, lenders and investors have an appetite for mortgages. And so I think it's a new norm. We need to help arm our buyers and sellers with the right information. Our agents who are out there literally going to battle every single day like we are, working hard to close and help families get into homes. This is the information you're going to need to make sure that you're relevant, you're having a real conversation, and can help them get off the fence. So remember this, you can control your attitude, effort, and action. And today is a time to prospect. So how's your attitude? Man, if it's been a little sour, it's been a little tough, look, this will work here for all of us. If it's been a challenge, let's change the attitude. It's the one thing that you can make a choice and choose to change it. Your effort is how I'm going to show up every day. Am I being effective with my process structure, who I'm calling, doing my prospecting? And that's the third one, action. Take action today. Follow up with your database. Call them with the purpose of the call to thank them. And then ask them if they've got a friend, family, coworker looking to buy, sell, or refi. Get out there. Have a great attitude, put the effort in, take action, and I believe you'll see big results. And partnering with Brian is going to help you have even more success in today's environment. And I hope this helps you as you're going through this week. You need more information like this. Brian's got a real-time referral program, the Daily Success Plan for Realtors, and then he also has the PowerPoint that he can share with you on the top 4 objections that buyers and sellers have and how to help them get off the fence.
Wow, this has been so amazing. And I just think of the people I've been talking to this week. Like I was talking to a client yesterday who was saying, you know what, it was like $45,000 in consumer debt. And then the interest rates are like 21%. And he's telling me what I should do is get a 0% credit card, and then I'll just pay everything off on the credit card. And then, so what happens in 2 years? Because he's wanting to move up. He's got a bigger family. He wants to buy something else. He has equity in his house. This is perfect for him. And he's like, but the interest rate is so good. So I'll wait to go down and I'll just wait with this credit card. I'm like, you're going to end up paying more. And what happens in 2 years if you don't pay all that off? And it jumps up to 22% that you're now going to pay on this stuff. You know, and then like you said, with the millennials are here. They are, you know, I'm working with one right now. She's been living with her mom, waiting. Now she's ready to go buy a house, has 20% down. The inventory here in Colorado is not big. And if the folks that are being smart about it, you know, and looking at, hey, I need to buy a house and I need to get into it now. That cost of waiting is just hurting me so big. It's so good. So Steve, thank you so much. I know we're out of, I told you guys this was going to be good.
Hey, so Brian, listen, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah. For me, it's just 720-287-1588 is my cell phone number. You're on this podcast. You have just click on the links. You can go to brianneural.com. There are so many ways that you guys that are listening to this on a weekly basis be able to do that. I'll make sure it's in the comments with a link to the PowerPoint and everything so that you guys have this. I can't wait to start working with you. I can't wait to make sure that you guys are getting the information that you need. So the next edition of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight podcast will continue to have, this type of information that will continue to make you as successful as possible. Steve, amazing. We're going to have you back.
It's my privilege. Hey, well, listen, for our agent partners, reach out to Brian. He's got the PowerPoint. I'm going to send it to him actually right now. That way he's got it. Call him, connect. What's the phone number again?
720-287-1588. Yeah.
Hey, call him, shoot him a text, get on the calendar, spend 30 minutes, let him get you this information. Let's get some buyers and sellers off the fence so we can help them achieve the dream of homeownership. So thank you for your time. Remember this, everybody. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Just get started. See ya.
See ya. Thank you. Great podcast. You can do this. You deserve this. And let us help you. We'll talk to you guys soon. This is Brian Arnold, and if you are listening to this part, you've just watched one of our episodes of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight, where we've just talked to one of the best of the best. And I want to thank whichever guest that was here. They are phenomenal. They are amazing. They are the top of the top, the best of the best that are in our industry that are here with us today. And so I encourage you to please call them, pick their brains. They work for you. They enjoy working for you. They are incredibly good at it. And so I want to make sure that you give them a call. So whoever you listen to, whichever one you saw that you were there, please do that. The other thing is everyone deserves a home. Everyone deserves a home. I say that at the end of my show. You deserve it. Let us help you do it. My goal is to make sure that we see homeownership. It just sickens me to see apartment complexes continue to go up, because I know those are people who haven't been able to make the call or figure out a plan. So let us help put that plan together for you. I have some websites that allow you to do that, and I'll put those in the bottom, but please do. I am a lender. I do work in the lending space. If you do not already have somebody who's pre-qualified you, I would love to be able to have that opportunity to earn your business and qualify you. My number is 720-682-2223. That's 720-682-2223. Give me a call anytime, and I would love to be able to help you with that. We also do living trust. And so when we think about an estate, to try to avoid probate and make sure that doesn't happen. So whether it's you, if you own a home, and you should have a living trust. And I will say that everyone not just deserves it, everyone needs a living trust if they own a home. And then finally, just wanted to thank you for watching these episodes. And so please tune into more. Would love for you to see and be able to shop around. So thank you for doing that. Again, I want to make sure that you know that you can do this. You deserve this, and let us help you make it happen. You guys have an awesome, wonderful, awestruck, incredible day today.